Communication, the meeting minutes from April 14, 2015.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Alessi. Second by Commissioner Jacobson?
Yeah.
Either.
Commissioner Jacobson? Has everybody had a copy of those? Yeah. Good. Any questions, corrections? Okay, ready to vote? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Minutes adopted unanimously. Next item is new applications to recommend a public hearing. First is 85 Mill Plain Road, compliance application of Fischel Properties to establish a restaurant in a portion of an existing building with a request for reduced parking pursuant to section 21.13 in the design industrial district.
This, Mr. Chairman, I'm sure the Commission is well familiar with the Sportsplex. At the far end on the North Pine Creek end of the building, they found that they've expanded their expansion. They're looking to contract now. They're not going anywhere, but the portion of the building that they've expanded into, they're looking to retract from. So there's a potential food service tenant in there, and they are requesting a reduction in parking, which does trigger a public hearing requirement for them to bring that to you and have a dialogue about it.
Motion.
Motion to move to public hearing by Commissioner Kennelly. Second by Commissioner Noonan. Any discussion? It's required public hearing based on the parking. Ready to vote? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? It's moved to public hearing unanimously. Next is 145 Brookside Drive, re-subdivision application of Brookside Acres LLC for 2 lots in an A zone.
This is a re-subdivision application, and by statute requires a hearing. So again, you'll get the materials. This is an area of Brookside Drive between Black Rock Turnpike and Pansy Road, behind the commercial center there.
Very good. Thank you.
Make a motion to move to public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to move to public hearing by Commissioner Kennelly.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Coleman. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Move to public hearing unanimously. Next is subdivision application, 1159 Banks North Road, subdivision application of Robert Weber for 2 lots in a AAA zone.
This is a bit of an unusual recommendation here. It's not typical, but we are actually recommending that you deny this application without prejudice. It is not a complete application. We've notified the applicant via letter that they're missing some required elements to the plan. We still have not received those. I've left a couple messages on voicemail recommending that the application be withdrawn until they can get it together. Have not heard back. We are out of time from our statutory time clock to pursue this, so we're recommending it be denied without prejudice, and then they can come back when they're ready to make a complete submittal.
Motion to deny, Mr. Chairman, 3A.
Second.
Without prejudice?
Without prejudice.
Motion to deny without prejudice, Commissioner Kennelly.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Corcoran. Any discussion?
Nope.
Okay. I think the staff's comments kind of set it out fully. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The item is denied without prejudice.
Just by way of explanation, the difference between a denial and denial without prejudice really only means that typically when you deny an application, you have a right not to hear the same application for a period of 6 months, but since you never really heard this application, a denial without prejudice means that if they do complete their application, we're not setting it back another 6 months. If they're ready to come forward, then we can move it forward.
Thanks for the explanation. Next item is compliances, 40 Reef Road, application of Landmark Homes, Inc. to establish a retail use in a portion of an existing building in the Center Design District.
Okay, this is a property that's on the west side of Reef Road, a couple doors down from the Firehouse Deli. It looks like an old house that was converted years ago into an office space. The applicant's looking to establish a retail use on the first floor. The second floor will remain office. There are no additions or exterior changes proposed. There was a narrative supplied with the application that outlines the parking that's required under our regulations. It's actually, because in our downtown, we require only one parking space for the first 1,500 square feet of retail on the premise that shoppers downtown aren't going to move their car when they move, go from store A to store B, that there's actually a reduction in the demand for parking, but there's 7 or 8 parking spaces, I think, on the site plan here, so it is in compliance with what we require for parking for this site. So it's really an interior change of use on the first floor only from office to retail. I think, as I understand it, it's a kind of a craft pottery type of retail use.
I'll make a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Kennelly. Second by Commissioner Jacobs.
There are 7 spaces available to this property, 4 are required. Generally, in the downtown business district, having retail on the ground floor is broadly a benefit. That doesn't mean that office can't work, but the idea, as long as the retail is reasonable and kind of fits the area, generally speaking, that this kind of a use strikes me as one that's a reasonable change, so I support it.
Thanks. Question for staff. The plans show single lines on the parking spaces. Are they required to be shown as double?
I think that's just reflective of the existing condition, not a proposed change to the plan. If they restripe it, our regs would require it to be a double stripe, but that's, I believe, an existing condition that they're reflecting there.
I see. So there's not a proposal to change any of the parking spaces or restriping?
That's correct.
Handicap spot? Is there required to have a handicap spot here?
They may, that's really a requirement of the building code. I believe the cross-hatching on that very first space is indicative that that is probably the handicap space. There are steps in the way.
The stops.
Yeah, so-
Steps blocking it.
I think those stripes are designating that as not a parking space.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but that's governed through the building code, so if the change in use triggers a requirement for handicapped accessibility or the provision of a handicap parking space, they'll have to comply with that.
Yeah, I support the application. I think it's good use, plenty of parking. Any other comments, questions? We're ready to vote? Motion is to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? The compliance is approved unanimously. Next is 1262 Post Road, application of J.P. Franzen Associates for an overall sign plan in the Center Design District.
Okay, this is the site of the former post office, where Plan B Burger Bar is going up front, and then they've got a prospective tenant, retail tenant, to take the balance of the square footage of the building. So what they're proposing here is on the Post Road facing side, and the west side is a reverse channel letter that the light shines backwards toward the building, the sign face remains opaque, is a black opaque channel letter with a light gray background, halo lit style, and then when you move towards the back of the building for the second tenant, you're kind of flipping the color scheme a little bit with a black background with a white channel letter that's also halo lit, meaning that we don't permit interior luminescence of the sign faces, but they're shining backwards towards the building, so it looks like, gives it a halo image similar to the signs that are on the former Fairfield store building where the Fairfield U bookstore is and Victoria's Secret and the like. Those are similar style signs with black letters that light up at night facing the building rather than facing outward. The plan does show kind of a site plan orientation, that if you're driving down the post road, there are adjacent buildings that are very close to the street. So the sign that will be visible most clearly is obviously the sign on the post road frontage. Sign B, as it's shown on that site plan, is fairly remote from the street. And the only other note I will have is they are showing the pylon sign that has been previously approved by the commission several months ago on a separate application. Obviously, the configuration is going to change because, as I understand it, there's only going to be 2 tenants within this building now, Plan B Burger, and then a separate retail tenant taking up the remainder of the space.
Thank you. Your motion?
A motion to approve, Mr. Chairman?
Motion to approve by Commissioner Kennelly,
Second.
second by Commissioner Corcoran. Commissioner Kennelly?
I actually find the lights across the street, the lighting across the street, very reasonable, at least in terms of design. I like that kind of style where you're not shining out. It kind of creates that halo effect as you were describing. I think it's attractive. This meets our regulations in terms of the size and everything else, right? Are there any issues
It
there?
does. Well, there's only one, thank you for bringing that
Yeah.
up. There's only one really artistic issue here. They are showing a kind of a wood lattice design around the back door, which is a door that faces the rear of the property, which faces the rear parking lot and the train tracks. They have not accounted for that wood lattice pattern. That's just more of a kind of a focal feature for them to show where the door is. So they've accounted for it in the wall sign on the side, but if you include that as part of the background on the sign in the rear, that they wouldn't be able to have those vertical pieces that they're showing. So that's something that for your consideration.
Well,
They talk about that in their
letter, yeah.
I got another question as
Go
far
ahead.
as, on the side it says opening hours 7 to 9 every day on that sign too? Is that typical? We don't usually do that, do we?
Well, we don't really have any authority over what the sign actually says. Its size, its location, its design and color, but we can't regulate their text. I don't know if that's, that's not the tenant name, that's just kind of shown there as for stylistically, the type of sign it's going to be. They're not ready to reveal the name of the tenant.
Oh, so that's not going to be...
I don't know whether it's going to be there or not. It may be, but there's nothing that prevents that from being there. If you approve the sign style, we don't regulate the content of the message.
So long as it's not confusing, right? I mean, we had an issue with the number display at one point. I mean, we can require that the sign have a clear number marker if it has numbers on it, right?
Well, we require ground signs to have the
Ground
address
signs.
number, correct. Wall signs, we do not.
Right. It's ground, that's the distinction that I was
Yeah.
forgetting.
I have a question.
Commissioner
So
Corcoran?
if these, like the sign on the back of the building we're looking at,
Yep.
2 things. One is, did you say that the vertical part is not allowed, or?
Well, they, in their narrative, are describing this thing as, oftentimes in a building when they design something, they'll put a fascia band across the building as an architectural element on which to install
Right.
signage. They haven't done that here. So their argument is, had they done that, there would have been perhaps a horizontal element going across the back of the building. So what they're proposing are these two, they're actually 4x4 pieces of wood that are going to stand off from the brick, just to kind of give it a kind of a feature where the door is. Now, if you think that's an integral part of the sign and would be considered part of the sign background, that is in your discretion to do so, in which case they'd be limited to a total of 72 square feet, which is exactly the size of sign B as it's shown on the side elevation.
My second question is, in that sample sign they're showing, you're saying that the lights would be on the back of the sign shining towards the bricks?
A channel letter sign is basically a bent aluminum cabinet in the shape of a letter that has LED lighting in the middle, and typically there'd be a plexiglass face on it, so when it lights up, the face illuminates. What these are solid aluminum letters with an open back, so when it lights up, the light shines towards the building, creating a halo effect around the letter. So the sign faces themselves do not illuminate.
So when you look at the sample sign they have there, where it has the small letters, can you actually do that with the way you just described?
Yeah, it'll either, if those letters are too small to do that, then they'll just be raised letters that won't have the illumination within them.
So when we look at this, I'm sorry to keep,
Yep.
but, so it says S sign there.
Mhm.
Those, you can look through them and see the bricks. That's not really the way it is, right?
No.
The letters are solid, and there's lights behind the solid letters that
Right.
reflect back toward the bricks.
Victoria's Secret on the corner, if you see it on the corner there, across the street, it gives like a halo effect against the
Right.
building. Up the front, it looks like bouncing backwards off the shape of the letter.
No, I understand what we're talking about, but when we look at this sample, it's got a black background and a cutout. I mean, is it just going to be letters? Like the city one?
What am I? I'm not sure I understand your question.
So I'm looking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I see what you're saying. It's on the way they've drawn it here, you can kind of see the brick pattern behind those letters.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's more, it's more probably accurately reflected in the colored one. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I think that's just the way it was drawn on their CAD. But no, those are solid aluminum letters that will be standing off from the brick, so you won't see the brick through that.
Okay. But even on the red one, it shows a darker red rectangle that they're sitting in. Is that darker red rectangle wouldn't be there, right?
It's a black. It's a black. The Plan B burger is a gray background that will have black letters coming off it, shining back.
So are the bricks painted gray?
No, that'll be a backing material that's mounted to the brick.
I see. So the light will reflect off of that back
Correct.
material.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
And the other one will be white letters on a black, kind of perforated background.
Yeah. Okay.
Jim, can I just, one more thing? To understand about this business, about this kind of, these 2x4, the 4x4s,
Yep.
ultimately, they're not there to really, to focus people on the sign. They just want to be able to make sure people understand which in these banks is where the doors are. It's more of an architectural feature just so you understand where the entrance is. It's not really an element of the sign
Well,
per se.
that's
But
the-
we could treat it that way if we want to. But the point is, if you were looking at it, what it really is doing is delineate where the door is as opposed to advertising there's not like
Yes.
scroll work that has like the company logo or a guy. If it was like, say, a athletics place, doesn't have somebody, like some guy standing in it or something like that. That's not what it, it's not an extension.
That's how they're asking
content
you to
wise.
view it.
Right. I get
But
it.
you have the
Which is
discretion to
not-
go either way. Right.
Because we have had cases where they
That's
did
correct.
make it pretty darn
That's
much
correct.
of a sign, but not here.
Those, recently at the Southport Athletic Club,
Yeah,
with
the orange
and
thing,
they
right,
wanted
yeah,
to paint
right.
them orange.
Yeah, that was different.
Okay. Any other questions? Ready to vote? Motion is to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Sign plan is approved unanimously. Next item is 1460 Post Road, application of Steve Horahan for an overall sign plan in the Center Design District.
Okay, this property is on the corner of the Post Road and Sanford Street, and for a number of years was the site of Las Vidas Lounge coffee shop that a number of years ago relocated to Umpqua Road. This commission has approved several versions of a potential restaurant space here that incorporates the rear retail tenant, and they have a tenant here now, what's it called? Be Good. And they're proposing two signs. The front sign is a 14.5 square foot wooden panel sign that has some exterior lighting fixtures on it, and then the side sign on Sanford is proposed to be a vinyl, a painted graphic that's applied directly to the brick that's not illuminated at all. That is the proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Make a motion to approve for discussion purposes.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Canelli,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Alessi.
Jim, what's the story in terms of it meeting our regs and stuff like that, size-wise and everything?
Size-wise, it complies. I mean, it's 14 and a half square feet on the front, which is no problem. The one on the side is 50 square feet.
Right.
Actually, they could have up to 72 square feet, or 20% of the
Right,
area of the wall,
right.
whichever is less. But in this case, it complies. None of the letters are, they have a 24-inch maximum character height, so they're 20 inches as the largest character, so it's in compliance.
Okay. And then this, I guess this is like a red awning. I mean, I don't know if that's...
Yeah, the awnings really aren't part of this. They
Right.
originally had graphics on there. We told them they can't have letters or graphics on their awning because that would be considered an additional sign. They're limited to 2, one on each wall. So they're just plain red awnings.
And there's no signage on those?
Correct.
Obviously something here, because
Yep.
that's a concern. And was this the building where they were talking about proposing a second story or something like
That's
that?
correct.
Okay, I just wanted to check. But it's in compliance in
It
terms
is.
of the...
Yep, it's directly across from Shirley.
Question?
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna say I'm not gonna be voting for this. I mean, I don't have a problem with the front, but as far as the side goes, I think it looks like a billboard, and it's just too big. So, based on the side sign, I'm not gonna be voting for this. I'm not gonna vote, I'm gonna vote to deny.
All
The
right.
side sign fits our regs though?
Yeah.
It's in well inside our regs.
Yeah.
I could have a thing 3 times as big.
Well,
Well,
not quite 3.
a third,
A 30.
another third.
Yeah, 30.
Sorry, for the scientist, okay, a 30%.
Sign.
It could be 30%.
Yeah, I mean,
It could be worse.
frankly, it could be a much bigger billboard.
It could be even more horrible.
Yeah. No, they had signage on the awnings. They removed that appropriately. They're within our regulations in terms of overall square footage and so forth. So, I mean, I'll be supporting it. Anybody else? Ready to vote? Okay, so the motion on the table is to approve. Yeah?
With Commissioner Calabrese here.
That's a good question, thank you. So who is now sitting for Seth? Okay, Commissioner Corcoran, you're voting, you're sitting for Commissioner Barretts.
Okay.
All right, and Commissioner Calabrese, you were here for the whole thing, right?
Yep.
Okay. And so the motion on the table is to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so we have
5 to 2.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favor, 2 opposed. Commissioner Alessi and Commissioner Calabrese are opposed.
Thank you.
So it passes 5 to 2. Next item is 170 Post Road, application of Sam Ricapero to establish an outdoor dining patio in the design commercial district.
Okay, this is Luigi's Restaurant in the Grassmere portion of the Post Road. They've submitted a survey of several architectural style sketches. They're looking to do a masonry patio on the westerly side of their building. The seating area within that patio is proposed to be 147 square feet. They're proposing an open trellis and a stone wall along the front to separate it from the street side, 48 inches in height. Our section 28.6.12 allows for up to 150 square feet of seasonal outdoor dining without the need for additional parking. That is what they are proposing to do here with their new stone patio, and they've got a kind of the second to the last sheet kind of shows their profile of the open trellis with a light fixture and a stone wall.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Motion approved by Commissioner Canelli. Second by Commissioner Coleman.
Meets the design limitations regarding parking. Seems to work pretty well. Like it as an amenity for the location. So, at least at first blush, I'd support it.
We would recommend, of course, I'm sorry I didn't articulate this, but the standard conditions
Right.
that you've been consistent with all outdoor dining is that there be no outdoor music or sound system. The tables and chairs come in at the end of the season. The season runs from April 1 through the end of October, and no additional signage.
Are those ones that you have to accept in every single motion, or is that already sort of provided to the
Well, it would-
applicant in advance?
No, well, we would recommend you,
Okay.
the first time it's approved, we
Always do it again?
institute that, and
All
then
right.
on renewals, they're made aware.
I would accept all those standard conditions we've made for other businesses that have done this.
So, motion's been modified. Mr. Coleman, you agree?
With those standard conditions, I don't see any reason to turn it down. Restaurants definitely, in order to attract people, seem to need outdoor dining, and it looks like it's an unobtrusive use of a little corner of space, so I would approve it.
Okay, and so you accept the modifications to the
Yes.
motion? All right, thank you. Anybody else? Good application. It's within our regulations. I agree with your comments, Commissioner Coleman. We ready to vote? Motion is to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? That's approved unanimously. With conditions as stated. And so next is public hearing. Do we need a minute to reconfigure? Does anybody need a minute? No? Very good. All right. Thanks for coming. You were. All right, we ready to go? Okay, so public hearing for those members of the public. The way this works, if you don't already know, the applicant will come forward and give their presentation. We'll next move to a period of public comment. There's no time limit. Just keep your comments germane to the matter in the application that's being heard. Once everyone has had a chance to have their public comments, we'll then go back to the applicant for a rebuttal. And when the applicant is finished with their rebuttal, the public hearing on that item will be closed. All right? So with that, call the first item, 55 Miller Street, special permit application of Vincente Singüenza for additions and alterations to an existing restaurant in the Center Design District.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Seguenza, Fairfield resident for 10 years. This is Mauricio Ratigui of Daru Construction. We're looking to do a renovation of 55 Degrees. We would like to change the entrance from the side in the parking lot to the front, where street side. And I'm going to turn it over to Mauricio to give you.
So just, if you could, just announce yourself and do we have, do you have one?
Put music? You put it on the floor in front of the table, it's fine.
Well,
Chair,
then,
hold it, chair.
people can see.
Yeah, that's good.
No, it's fine. I don't know.
We submitted files with,
Yeah.
it's fine. We submitted a file with existing plan. I know you have that. And we trying to also change some of the interior area in the restaurant. We have the bar now located in the right side of the interior first floor. And in the proposal plan, we're trying to move that and also do some interior alterations. Pretty much what we're doing is try to keep the same square footage, just do some interior work and also some appealing work in the outside part of the building, which is reflected into the proposal plan. So we have an extension right there in page 2. You can see it is like 6 feet we're trying to go towards the street, 6 feet, and close that area, and have some big doors to open the space to the outdoors, and try to getting like one flow area between the outdoor and the indoor part of the restaurant. That's in the front of the building. You can see where the
Is
extension is.
the outdoor dining here, that's existing, correct?
That is existing, and we're trying to reduce that a little bit more in order to get more indoor space.
More indoor?
Yes, but when we do that, also we're taking some indoor space to balance what we're doing. We're trying to extend outside, but inside we proposing some wine cellar, and the first floor is going to be like a big storage for wine. So we're taking away like pretty much is like 3 feet by 25 feet, and same thing in the third floor. So you could see it right here. So we're trying to get this wine cellar, this one, the second, third one, the building. And
You're talking on mic, you're on TV.
it's okay. You're good. So, and then, like I said, try to balance all the space, because we need to, also we're redoing the bathrooms, keep it the same handicap accessibility. There's going to be more handicap accessibility in the front of the building, because it's more flat level with the street. The side entrance we have right now, we have a big long ramp, and we're trying to avoid that because it's close to the parking space and where the driveway is really is.
Let me ask you a question. The door that you go in now, right in front, you're gonna close off that door, that's the plan?
It's gonna be there. No, that's gonna be an exit door. We are not closing it. We haven't, in that door is gonna be now, with the proposal we have,
Oh, okay, it's gonna be by the
it's
bathroom.
gonna be just the access
Yeah, I see
for
it.
the bathrooms
So-
and an exit door.
Are you gonna have people going in and out that way, or you plan?
No, it's
No.
gonna be in the front.
Right.
Now, not that way. No, we try to keep it close. The access is gonna be now in front of the building, front door. So that's the plan.
But you're retaining the side door.
Yes, we do. We have to have it for exit, yes.
Why?
Because we don't have another exit. The exits are in the different level, in second level, and it's a
Yeah, no, I know.
split level building. That's why.
Now, the upstairs, where you have that room up, all the way upstairs, that's gonna be your wine room?
It's gonna be one in that
That's the one on
room.
the bottom picture?
Yes.
Okay.
And also in the other level, we try to get accessible for us to get into the wine storage from the sides.
Right.
Now it's only doors, we open doors front, and it's a little uncomfortable. It's
So
not.
that's actually
really-
the front of the building?
No, that's in the back of the building. And also in the front, in the third floor, which is reflected in the.
Third floor.
In the page 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in the third floor, that is in the front of the building, but it's just facing indoors.
And then you're gonna keep the same?
Yes, pretty much, the area. And also, we're taking away some area for the bar, which is a little bigger than what it is right now. It's a little uncomfortable, only one entrance. In this case, we're trying to get two entrances into the bar area. And having like more cleaning, let's say, cleaning purposes is we're gonna have like dishwasher right there, located in there in the bar, which is very difficult right now. The area is too limited for the existing conditions. So we're trying to also get that. It's a lot better. And also we have some utility areas, which is going to be dedicated for the waiters, pretty much. It's like waiter stations. So we're going to have one on the first floor, one in the second floor, and that's how we balance the space we trying to get in the outside part of the building.
You plan on removing the fence?
Yeah, pretty much. It's not going to be remove everything. What we're doing is like we try to get like a stone little wall in front, but no more fence. Yes, pretty much. No more fence in there. So I don't know, any other question or?
Mr. Coleman?
Forgive me while I always fiddle with the microphone. So people parking in the parking lot have to exit the parking lot now and go out onto the front sidewalk and then re-enter the building from that direction?
Yes, because the front entrance is not really, it's more level, the entrance, than in the side of the building. Because you see the picture is like 3 steps over there. When you go in the front entrance, the whole lot going is pitched back to the back of the building. So in the front, it's pretty much level. So we could have more handicap accessibility, and it's a lot easier. A lot easier. The access is going to be flawlessly, yes. And it's going to be from the side. We try to keep it where the umbrellas are in the plan and in the page 2. We try to keep it that open, that space open. So it's going to be a lot more easier to get into that.
You have to use the microphone. You have to use the microphone.
Yeah.
That'll fall too.
The parking lot now is very congested, and we have the pantry patrons park there also. And you have to back your car up. Most people back their car up. They don't park the other way. So it's coming up against the door. You know, it's coming toward the door, and people are trying to walk in and walk out there. So it's...
So we're trying to move that away from that entrance and move the entrance pretty much to the front of the building to avoid that congestion with the people in front of the cars, pretty much.
The parking in the building's gonna stay the same, right?
Oh, yeah. It's pretty much the same. It's only, you know, the
Right.
extension and that's it. It's
And the
the same.
handicap parking will be where?
Excuse me?
The handicap parking will
It's
be where?
actually is there. It's right in front of the. It's right in front of the building. It's. I think we have 2 spaces.
Near
It's,
the front
for
door.
car- Yeah, it's in the lot. It's in. I don't know if you. They haven't filed the plot plan. I
Yeah.
think it gotta be there. It's marked in the plot plan. All the spaces and parking space. Except we are not pretty much moving anything there. So the whole square footage pretty much is getting reduced than the existing conditions. And the existing conditions, we have the Patreon is 1,800 square foot, and we're proposing to reduce like 70. I need your eyes. Yeah, 70/40. It's like we reduce it like for about 60 square feet with all the accommodations we're doing, and try to bring it up to more better conditions, pretty much.
More room in the ball.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just want to elaborate. They did give you an extensive plan of the existing condition compared to the proposed, and we've worked with the applicant to make sure that even though they're proposing to push the front of the building out 6 feet, but it's a net zero in terms of the patron floor area because of the alterations that they've just described in terms of wine storage area and some of the other things with the bar and server stations, that they end up, there's no gain in the total patron area, so it's a wash from a parking perspective.
So they're adding what they're taking away.
Correct?
They're adding what they're taking away, basically.
Correct. They're redesigning it to be more user-friendly and to deliver the product in the way that they want to deliver it, but there's no gain in customer space here.
It's more flawless work for us too. That's the plan for them. Yes.
Any other questions? No? Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Is there any member of the public that wishes to be heard on this? Yes, please. So, yeah, thanks. So then we'll have public comment now. You can have a seat, and then when public comment is over, you'll have a chance to come up and have a rebuttal. You can respond to any questions or issues that are raised, that kind of thing. Yes, hello.
Hi, Helen DeDanzo, Jennings Road. I think my comments are germane, forgive me if they're not. My concern is the handicap parking. This particular building has been several different restaurants, and they have it has a small parking lot, which now is shared with the pantry, from what I understand. And they have never had adequate ADA compliant parking that has been enforced. In this particular restaurant now, which they're the only ones that can be held accountable, there is a parking lot. In my understanding of the regulations, if you have between 1 and 25 spaces, I don't know how many spaces they have, you are required to have one handicap parking spot. I was down there today. I did not see one sign. The police are required to have a sign to issue a violation. Indicia on the ground is not sufficient grounds for them to issue a violation. That is my understanding. I saw 7 signs that said parking for 55 Wine Bar. I did not see one handicap sign. I was there 2 weeks ago. It was the same situation. And I have a concern about compliance because they're required to have it now. And I was wondering if perhaps there could be a condition that this be permanently affixed to the building or something so that there would be, when I read in the paper that they were changing the restaurant to have more handicapped accessibility, I thought it was great, wonderful downtown, but the parking is a problem. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any other member of the public wish to be heard here? No?
You guys comment on that or no?
Okay.
Did they comment on that or no?
Well, again, we talk about that in the context of a different application tonight, but the handicap parking requirement in the sign is falls under the building code, and when there's an application to do a renovation such as this, that's going to be an approval of the building official that would require them to come comply. Yes, Margaret.
We'll notify the building official, make sure that in fact he knows what the situation is. And
I don't think they can hear because you're not using the microphone. The woman.
we will notify the building official about this concern that you heard at the hearing, and make sure that he is satisfied that it meets the state building code conditions of approval. The person that spoke is absolutely correct. The signage is required, which is also outlined specifically the design and location in the building code. So again, even if you feel it's necessary, a condition of approval, basically stating that that the applicant confirm with the building official that the handicap space location and signage is consistent with the state building code.
Thank you. Okay. Any other member of the public wish to be heard on this item? Okay. So then the applicant, if you'd like, you have an opportunity to make a rebuttal, or you can simply
Call today.
rest.
I just wanted to say that that's why we were doing this also, is because the parking lot is dangerous and we do want to be in compliance. So I guess it's the building inspector.
Yeah. And so, so you're stating that it's your intention to bring the handicap signage and striping and so forth into compliance
Yes.
with the
Yes, with the
regulations.
renovation, yes.
Yeah, so at the end of this, there will be a clear sign, posted handicap spot with the striping and so forth.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you very much. So I'll close the public hearing on this item. The next item is 34 Sherman Street, special permit application of Marc Andre for additions and alterations to establish an office within an existing building in the Center Design District.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. For the record, my name is John Fallon. I'm here representing Marc Andre, who's also here with me this evening. As you know, the property is located at 34 Sherman Street, and as the Chair indicates, this is an application for a special permit with regard to the construction of a addition to the building, and also allowance for Mr. Andre's office to be located in this particularly nicely renovated building. As I think most of you know, Marc's been an architect here at Fairfield for many, many years, and putting his office here on Sherman Street, directly across the street from my office, I think is very consistent with that particular street. There's a lot of professional offices there, including dentists, lawyers, and the like. The use of the property is presently non-conforming to the zoning regulations, as it has historically been maintained as a two-family residential structure with both residential use on the first and the second floor. As you're aware, Section 12.3.16 of your regulations allows residential use in the zone, but only allows residential use if it's located on the, other than the ground floor, and not to exceed 50% of the building. As I'll elaborate on briefly, it's Mr. Andre's intention to convert that first floor non-conforming residential unit into space for his office, and we would maintain the second floor for residential use. So one of the end results of this, besides the aesthetic upgrade to the building, is that we'll bring the building into conformity with the zoning regulations, whereas it's now non-conforming. Another matter of conformance here is obviously the building and the fire code, insofar as the building, of course, will be brought up to all standards with regard to that. In October of 2014, we did receive unanimous approval of some variances from the Zoning Board of Appeals. I'll elaborate on those briefly. The variances allowed were for a reduction in the parking for the proposed residential unit from 2 to 1. The board took cognizance of the fact that that particular variance was not inconsistent really with the provisions of your regulations, which do allow you, as a planning and zoning commission, to reduce the required parking for a residential use by 50%. The second variance that was granted was a variance to reduce the office parking from 4 spaces to 2. I point out, as I did in my letter of intent, and as the board took cognizance of, the total square footage of the office first floor is 759 square feet. As you know, your regulations in this zone require 1 parking space for every 250 square feet. So although we did seek a waiver from 4 spaces to 2, the 4th space was occasioned by the addition of 9 square feet to the office area. But for that 9 square feet, which allows us obviously to meet handicap requirements and the like, we would have needed 3 spaces for the office use, and we are providing 2. There was also a variance for the street setback, but as I point out in my material and the board took cognizance of, we're actually reducing, by way of this renovation, the existing non-conforming streetscape. Mr. Andre, including himself, employs 2 other people in the office. 2 of the total of 3 employees drive to work. 1 utilizes public transportation. We're very comfortable and confident that the total parking on site, with inclusion of a handicap space, will be more than adequate to meet the needs of the small residential unit above and Mr. Andre's small office, which is 759 square feet. That is not inconsistent with other uses, office uses in the area. And as I said, this particular use, I think, lends itself very well to that. And effectively, the variance for the office parking was really realistically from 3 to 2 spaces, and the board did find proper basis to grant that. So, yes.
Before you move on,
One question.
Mr. Barrett?
Does Mr. Andre's architecture practice sometimes have customers come to his place of business?
No, not generally. He generally goes to the site. Indeed, if you look at the floor plan here, this is basically office and prep area and design area. There's no, large facility for office, whatever. I can tell you firsthand that I'm doing a lot of work with Mr. Andre. He meets generally on the site, or he often meets at the offices of attorneys or the clients themselves, if there is need for a larger meeting.
Okay, because I know the variances were granted, but just doing the math, if he and an employee drive and you've got 3 spaces and there's a residence, it seems like there's no place for a visitor to park.
Well, the residents,
during
of
the
course,
weekend.
you can't be sure who the resident would be, but there is a possibility that the residential space would be available during business hours.
Yeah.
But the building has been, as basically configured, serving 2 non-conforming residences. It is what it is. It's not dissimilar to a lot of buildings in the Center Design District and on Sherman Street. So basically what this is it is a small non-conforming site, but we're going to be able to take this site, we think, upgrade it both aesthetically and code-wise. And I think Mr. Andre's business, which he may want to elaborate on, is perfect for this because it's not a high-intensity business office where you're going to have a lot of customer traffic coming and
Well,
going.
there's also on-street parking, and there's public parking across the street, right? in the
That's
parking
correct.
lot.
And I also secured employees parking as of a
Could you just
few
state
days
your
ago.
name for the record?
My name is Marc Andre. I'm the owner and also the architect for the project, and I intend to occupy the ground floor. When we applied for the variance, I did apply for employees parking, which I secured 6 months ago, and I just renewed it. So I have 3 spaces for my employees. So any on-site parking is not going to be needed, quite
So
honestly.
the 3 spaces that you're referring to are
These are
parking
secured.
garage?
These are secured to the town economic development. So on Sherman Street, closer to Wayne Street, there are available employees parking. They are designated parkings. And on the town green, there are also available employees parking. And of course,
You have secured 3 spaces.
3 spaces.
That's
Yes.
in addition to the 3 that are on the site, 2 that are on the site.
3.
3 that are on
The site can accommodate 3, and I have secured 3 employee spaces
off-site.
off-site. Correct.
Okay, good.
It's always good when your client gives you a pleasant surprise. So, hopefully, with the information from Mr. Andre especially, the board is comfortable, the commission is comfortable with the matter with respect to parking, as the board was. By way of summary and subject to any questions you might have, as I said, we're going to eliminate existing non-conforming use of the first floor. Secondly, the renovations, as you can see, I think are going to make for a very attractive, aesthetically pleasing renovation. There's a lot of good things going on in our neighborhood in Sherman Street. The building right next door to us, the Passmore property here across the street. So I think it's very positive. The building will be rendered compliant with all code requirements, and I think Mr. Andre's office, his architectural office, will fit very well in that very special little street in our Center Design Business District. So be pleased to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Does anyone have any other questions? No? All right, thank you, Mr. Fallon.
Thank you.
Any member of the public wish to be heard on this application? Wow. Going once, going twice? Okay.
Thank you.
You're all set? Very good. Well, I will close the public hearing on this item. Oh, I'm sorry.
Can I go?
Yes, of course. I'm sorry. There was no public comment, there was no rebuttal.
I'm curious about the pattern of the siding that we're seeing here, and what the sort of what the reasoning is for this unusual pattern.
Pattern of the what, Mr. Becker?
The siding. that we're-
Siding?
Yeah.
Do you want to address the siding?
Well, it's an aesthetic element. Obviously, as an architect, I would like my building where I work to have a certain expression. The upper section is cedar siding. Currently, the building, a little bit of history about the building. The building was built in 1922, and it was part of the Fairfield store over the years, but they had maintained, residential uses and stuff like that. So, we tried to do some repairs, and we actually found layers of siding materials there. And the original siding is actually cedar. The current roofing material is asphalt, but if you go inside in the attic, it actually was a wood roof. So we tried to play off some of the old materials, and then by introducing new cedar material, so we try to keep not plastic type or cement-based type material, but I'm bringing back the old cedar. We're gonna reclad the upper section, which will kind of express the residential portion of the building, where the cedar with the channel groove at the ground level will delineate my office use. If there's any real rationale for using the slanted materials, maybe to express movement and things like that, but that's the materials of choice that I wanted to use.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. All right. Any other questions? No? Okay. With that, close the public hearing on this item. And no other business, I'll adjourn the meeting.
Depends on the color.
One of the historic.
Yeah.